Hello, welcome to Trump 47 Watch. Today's episode provides a brief update on the current government shutdown. I'm Eric Masters, Professor of Business Emeritus, author, commentator, and podcaster. You can find me at my YouTube channel. Today is October the 18th, 2025. Federal government is still shut down. The shutdown began on October the 1st. More than 750,000 federal workers have been furloughed. Workers impacted by the shutdown, which is due to the inability of Congress to agree to continue current funding levels, so the government has to cease operations because of a lack of authority to make continuing payments for functions. Employees deemed essential to public safety, including military personnel, law enforcement officers, border patrol, and air traffic controllers, are required to work. Trump signed an executive order on October the 15th directing the Pentagon to ensure active duty military personnel are paid despite the shutdown, but this is not the case for other federal workers. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent echoed a report prepared and released by the Council of Economic Advisors that the current U.S. government shutdown will cost the economy approximately $15 billion per week. There is no resolution in sight to the current disagreement over continuing spending authority. As I said, the administration plans to pay military personnel during shutdowns. The shutdown, as I said, is in its 18th day. Federal employees affected by the shutdown will not be paid, as also mentioned during the shutdown. The first payment was made on October 10th to federal workers during the shutdown, and it covered the pay period between September 21 and October 4th, which included 4 days of the shutdown. Thus, federal employees lost part of their pay for that time period, which was affected. Second payment occurs in October, on October the 24th, which covers the period between October the 5th and 18th, all of which occurred during the shutdown, which means, in effect, that federal employees will not be paid during this time period. In the past, federal employees have been paid retroactively for the time that they have been furloughed or unable to work during the shutdown. That is up in the air somewhat now because of differences of opinion on whether or not that payment is obligated. Reductions in force. The administration indicated earlier that it would take advantage of the shutdown to accelerate its reductions in force. There has been little movement in that regard as far as I can detect. To this extent, around 4,200 employees were to be laid off during the shutdown. That was reported earlier, but a federal court has ruled that reductions in force cannot take place during the shutdown. This is a temporary restraining order that was issued that affects only those agencies involved in the lawsuit. The administration said on yesterday, October the 17th, that it would comply with the judge's order to halt any layoffs caught up in a court-ordered pause on such reductions, though it left open the door to cuts of personnel not currently party to the lawsuit. A lot remains to be seen. There are those who are pressuring the Trump administration to push aggressively for reductions in force. I heard one commentator say that those reductions should amount up to close to 500,000, which would really be a historic development. And others are echoing, if not that extreme an action, seriously more significant reductions in force than have been contemplated by this report here. The administration has backed off this, evidently, at least until the Supreme Court rules on this judge's particular restraining order. You can see a summary of the cases that have been filed against the administration to mitigate its executive actions in a variety of different areas, including those pertaining to federal personnel and federal spending. You can go to Just Security, which has a legal tracker. The link is here, and you can get information on the previous case mentioned in which a federal judge put a restraining order on the reductions in force during the shutdown. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Stay tuned for more news on this important topic. Thank you and have a good day.